Hello, my name is Emma Creech. Today in my persuasive speech, I'm going to be going over why I believe the drinking age should be 18 in the United States. So first things first, we're going to go over things you can do when you turn 18 in the US. So first being you can vote, which is absolutely incredible to me. And should be the law. I agree, at 18 you're an adult, you should be able to make decisions of what happens in the country. You can play the lottery, you can get a tattoo, you can buy fireworks, you can be on jury duty, so you can decide the fate of someone who has been convicted of a crime. You can help decide if you think they did it. You can sue someone, which is life-changing. You can legally change your name, you can consent to medical care, you can skydive, you can join the military, which is actually a very important part of my argument in this, that you can go overseas and serve your country and defend the freedom of our country, and you can't have a cold beer after work. You can work in a bar around alcohol, you can have a credit card, you can buy a car, you can pull a loan, which is a huge financial decision to make, but you can do it at 18. You can have an apartment, you can apply for a mortgage, you can get married, you can adopt a child, so you can be legally responsible for another human, but you cannot consume an alcoholic beverage, which is shocking. You can donate blood, you can create a will, you can become a notary, you can buy stock, and you can own a firearm, which I could get into that, but I won't be doing that today. We're going to focus more on the military aspect. But first, we're going to go over how this law came to be, per se, because before 1984, each state decided what their drinking age was. And most states were 18, there's a few that were 21. So Ronald Reagan, on July 17th, went to the states as a whole and said, if you do not change your drinking age to 18, then we are going to pull your highway funding. So your roads will not be paid for by the federal government anymore. You will not get funding for those, you'll have to pay for them on your own, which is a very large number in the states for like, why are you doing this? And it was really fueled, the fire was fueled by the Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Because in this day and age, teenagers, 18-year-olds, that lived in states where the drinking age was 21, would drive to states where it was 18, get drunk, party, have so much fun with their friends, do their thing, and then at the end of the night they would drive home, and a lot of time, I think the number was 4,000 drunk driving accidents a year that were fatal. So the Mothers Against Drunk Driving, MAD, really fueled this fight against 18-year-olds being able to drink. They wanted to raise it, and the Reagan administration at that time argued that it was medically necessary because your brain is not developed until the age of 21. So all the states passed the law. They went with it because they didn't want to lose their funding. But now, according to the American Journal of Public Health, the brain is not fully developed until you are at least 27. Most people it's 28, but at least 27. So whether it's 18 or 21, that doesn't play any role in this. There's no medical reasoning behind it that it should be. So that's debunked. And then the other major argument is that teenagers aren't responsible enough to drink. This comes back to military for me, in that if you're responsible enough to go enlist in the military and fight for our country, then I believe you're responsible enough to have a drink and drink responsibly. And with that comes a lot of learning. There's a stigma around drinking at a young age right now that it's cool to do. And I think that if we change the drinking age to 18, then it won't be as cool per se to drink because it's not breaking a rule. It's okay, it's allowed. And parents can help teach their children responsible drinking habits per se. So nowadays, teens still drink. There is no arguing that. I think everyone in this class can agree, and professor can agree, that 18-year-olds drink. I'd say 7 out of 10, people that have turned 21 have had a drink before they're 18. And I got that stat from American Journal of Public Health too. So with that, I personally have experience. I was in high school, I was drinking, and we were on a back deck, and a girl fell off the back deck, and she cracked her head open. She was unconscious, blood everywhere, and everyone was drinking, so no one would call 911. Everyone was panicking because they were like, we can't call 911, we'll get in trouble. And I know you guys will probably comment the bystander law, where you cannot get in trouble if you call 911 and you're doing something illegal or whatever. But that only applies for the caller. So we knew that in high school because we were sneaky kids, and we knew that you can't call for help if someone gets hurt because then everyone will get in trouble and the party will get shut down and it'd be a whole thing. So this girl was laying there bloody, and someone drunkenly put her in the back of their car and drove her to the nearest friend's house that they dropped her off at, and she had to wait there for the ambulance because they didn't want everyone to get caught at the party. Which makes me sick to my stomach looking back. I was not a part of this. I was inside when all of this was happening, but it's just terrifying to think that that girl, if she had had a brain bleed or anything like that, it would have been such a bad situation. Thankfully, it was just a concussion. She needed some stitches. She was good. But yeah, so that's my major point on this, just from my personal experience in drinking underage and how frightening it is to be in that situation and nobody knows what to do because they don't want to get in trouble. And I think that if the drinking age was 18, then those 18-year-olds that were there, myself included, would not be scared to call for help, and it would be more normalized, which normalizing it actually is something that's really important in this too, and that there's a stigma, as I mentioned earlier, around drinking at a young age, and I experienced it in high school, where you weren't cool if you didn't drink. It was the cool thing to do. It was breaking the rules, which is so dangerous. It's so dangerous to think that that's a thing. So if the drinking age is 18, that takes out it's still cool, but it's not breaking the rules. You don't have to sneak around parents because it's legal. You're allowed to do it. You can call your parents to come pick you up because you've had a few drinks, or you know your limits because you've had time while living at home to learn your boundaries. Whereas 21-year-olds in college, they have their first drink and go absolutely crazy and don't know how to handle their alcohol. They're in a foreign environment, and there's no guidance really other than other drunk adults. So I see both sides of this. I see where people can say that it's too young, that you're not responsible enough, but then to that I say, then why are we allowed to vote at that age? And why are you allowed to do this whole list of things at the age of 18, but you can't have a cold beer? I'll never understand. I understand part of it, but I don't understand it as well. With that, my closing note is that my brother was actually deployed. He was in the military for a year. He was deployed overseas, and overseas, if they had an off day, then they could go to the bar and have a drink and then chill out and come home, and they would be cool. It was a great day. He was 20 and living up, and then when he came home, he was still 20 when he got home, and we all wanted to celebrate, obviously, that he made it home. He fought for our country. It was amazing. He did great. He had a lot of good stories. He had a lot of insight on the world, but he couldn't have a drink. He came home and he was like, it's insane to me that I was overseas for a year fighting in a war and I can't come home and have a cold beer. So that's my personal experiences with this topic, and that's really why I chose it. But my main thing, closing out on this, because I could talk about this for so long, is that responsible drinking is so much safer, and I think that teaching kids younger to be responsible is important so that they can be more adult about drinking, and it's not so bad girl thing to do. It's not a dangerous activity. It's just a normal part of life. It's a normal, you have a beer with dinner, you have a glass of wine with dinner with your parents, you've learned how to tolerate alcohol in a normal way, like every other country does. And that's why everyone thinks that Americans are overweight drunks, because they don't know how to handle alcohol, and it's so stigmatized and it's so dangerous, and drunk driving is so bad. because teenagers sneak, or that's really it. That's teenagers are sneaky and they're not gonna stop drinking, so we might as well end the fight of getting them to stop drinking and just teach them how to drink safely. Thank you. Also, this is my notes. You can see them.